Okay, folks. Good morning. Let's see if we can do this correctly. It's going to be a little bit of a delay until I can get it up on my screen, streaming from my phone. I am not an expert of doing this, as you will see, as you guys probably already know, and will see shortly. Okay, I think that's ultimately about right. Let's see, can we make that? No, that's good like that. I can see your chat if there's any comments. I'm up here in the corner so you can see that I'm at least wearing some clothing. Good morning, Ben. I'm not really sure how much of a delay there is on here, maybe 20, 30 seconds. I don't know whether it's true, but I heard that there's a delay on it for suicide reasons. I guess there were some people that were committing suicide, and the bots are listening to make sure that it gets banned before it makes it on the airwaves. So, however long that takes, 20, 30 seconds. I don't know if that's an urban myth or not. All right, we got our contacts in because we need glasses because wearing my progressives, I can't look at the screen at all. So I can see you closed your tabs of Clown Girls. No, I did look into it after you sent me the link, but there's a few of them that were attractive, but not really my thing. At least you could tell they're girls, so that's a step in the right direction. All right, so this morning, we were doing. I guess I could see. I'm really new to this, doing all these tabs, and I guess I could probably watch a show on how to get better at it, but I'm just not going to do it enough to really be able to improve on that. So I'm a bit frustrated. We filmed a video yesterday of Gaslands that had all kinds of hiccups. Now I've filmed videos before, and we're not new to that. And we had a Gaslands video that we filmed, and we had all kinds of things that happened. I started filming and it didn't take. I started filming and I checked and we were off to a good start, and then somehow the camera died, noticing that it wasn't being charged. So something was wrong, I think, with my box one of these little boxes that comes on your phone. I think it's either bad or the cord is bad. But luckily I only lost like 15 seconds of film, so we were able to put that together. Finished it. I figured it was like 2 hours long. It ended up being 4.5 hours long. So it's a really long video, which doesn't really surprise me. It really isn't an issue because we've done DBA videos of that length. The issue is that I can't get the video to compress. It takes way too long, and I either have to I think I need to break it down into two parts, which I'm not really happy with. And I realized, well, why am I having this issue now? Well, I realized that the last time I made one of these videos of this length, in other words, not a live session, a video of one of these length was when we were doing DBA. And when we were doing DBA, that was like 4 years ago, I had a different phone. I didn't have a Samsung 24. I had the 20. So I don't know. I think the filming that I'm doing is in too high a quality. So it's just too big a fucking file. So you're not going to see the video probably out today. I'm going to have to split it in two pieces. And I really hate doing that. But it's either that or there's no video. I also can't edit all of the space in between it because I think it's important to see all the mistakes and stuff that we make, which hopefully isn't very many, but I'm sure there's some mistakes on there. We had to make some judgment calls on things, as you do in any game. It just doesn't bother me, and I feel like we're pretty consistent. But even after not having played the game in about 3 weeks, you get really rusty with this game really fast on Gaslands. But anyways, that's another matter. I just wanted to bring that up, so if you're wondering, hey, you said the video was going to be up. Literally, I tell it to start crunching its thing. I mean, it's edited and everything, and you know, really putting the pieces together. Not really editing, but anyhow, to be continued. I'm probably gonna have to split it in two pieces. I really hate doing that, but Wintergewitter. Well, it's coincidental that Little Wars decided to do a video on that, but because it's a project that I've been interested in since probably since I read von Mellenthin's book, which was probably 1985, 1986, something like that. It's just one of those. It's just one of those periods that are seesaw and I think are relatively balanced. I've never been interested in periods that are like Battle of the Bulge or something like that. That's really one sided. I mean, I guess you could do a couple days of Battle of the Bulge, and it kind of goes each other's way. But and the Normandy thing, I like the things that are. So I've been a fan of Operation Crusader, and I've been a fan of Wintergewitter, and they both take place kind of in the same time of the year. Just one of them is in the desert, and one of them is in Russia in the winter. But Crusader definitely is more seesaw than Wintergewitter. But anyways. So I've been looking at doing some forces for it, and possibly doing some scenarios for it, and I kind of wanted to share what I have found, share it in my unprofessional method because I don't want to take notes and all this kind of stuff. That just interferes from that takes the joy out of me, like sharing. If it's like a lot of work, like I want to share, but now you got to do this like paper project. I'm like, I'm not your guy for that. And there's some of you that really enjoy writing. I'm not one of them. I enjoy learning shit, but and I'm going to try to share everything that I can and the sources that I've gotten without actually showing you the sources, so that I don't get into trouble. I don't want to take money away from people. It's like, hey, here's all this info on this thing. You don't have to spend the $20 now for it or whatever. I mean, But one of the first things that I got is I got the scenario book for Wintergewitter from Two Fat Lardies for their rule set, the chain of command. And figuring it was going to have some grandiose ideas in there. There's some scenarios in there. There's many scenarios, like 24 scenarios with some boards. But the boards are kind of like, to be honest with you, they're kind of generic. I mean, you could probably read the source information and probably come up with your own boards. I'm not saying don't buy them, but don't expect them to be like some holy grail. They're well done. Like, I'm a fan of their stuff. I don't play their rule set, but if I did have to play a rule set other than what I'm using now, I'd probably do chain of command and modify it so that it would have a little bit more flavor. Put some Laurie's seasoning salt on it, give it a little bit more depth. So it's not a bad source to kind of get you started. One of the things that kind of beats the drum on, in particular, is that it talks about the terrain. It is in the snow and it is winter, but it's not that's not the winter of 41, 42. The summer of 42, 43 was not as heavy, and it's also a lot further south of Moscow. So you're dealing with a milder environment that was more affected by ice. As a matter of fact, the operation got delayed because it had rained, and the ground had thawed, and it created a little bit of a mud situation, and then it froze again, and everything got slippery. It was like a nightmare for like wheeled vehicles. So I did get that a while ago, maybe a couple years ago. Really didn't do anything with it. I looked through it, noticed that there was one particular glaring error. It's a glaring error for me because I'm a tank guy. I'm a treadhead. And when I see things that are what I would consider common knowledge and errors in common knowledge, I start to question everything else. But I'm not saying don't get it. It's probably worth it. I think you can get the PDF download for like $15 or something like that. Okay, I don't know that there's any scenario books other than that are available for it to kind of give you some inkling of what it is that you want to do. On Audible and on Kindle, I've got the Memoirs of General Rouse. Okay, let me back up. On Audible, I got the Memoirs of General Rouse. Started listening to him. He's the 6th Panzer Division commander, and it's extremely it's just impossible to read. I mean, if Donald Trump wrote an autobiography, it'd probably be more fair and balanced than that. It's not worth reading. Okay, but it is a source material for a lot of other stuff, and there's a lot of the, if I was everywhere, Germany would have won the war, and I'm God's gift to to everything Panzer, along with the fact that he's writing this after the fact, and there's a lot of incongruencies with the dates by a couple of days. So take that for what it's worth. There's also the Memoirs of Horst Scheibert, which, if you're a modeler, you might recognize his name. He's actually done some Osprey type books. I forget who the heck they're for, but I recognize his name, and he's actually the a Panzer commander of the 6th Panzer Company in the 6th Panzer Division. So he probably commanded Tank 601. So he is a source material as well. And there's a book called, that's also on Audible, called On the Drive to Stalingrad, I believe is what it is. Let's see if I can, this is why I have my phone here, because I've got half of my information on my phone. On to Stalingrad, okay? And it is, it's Scheibert's book, and he takes from everything. I recommend that book. And what's cool is I've actually never done this before, is I've gotten, let me get back to my screen here where I was. Okay. I have gotten a, shit, I'm on this screen. Jesus, why don't I freaking do this? I told you I wasn't any good at this. Too Fat, Lardies. Let's just go Winter. Okay, instant PDF access. I would get this if you're on the get it. I mean, what are you going to do? It's just cost you a little bit of money, You can't take the money with you. I don't know why I can't find it on here. Oh, they might call it Winter Storm. I prefer the IKEA sounding name. It's £6. Get it? It's certainly worth £6. It's certainly worth £6. So, the only thing is it is for chain of command. So the way I understand it is chain of command is you have basically a platoon of infantry on every side, and then add-ons. So you can't really have a game, as far as I understand it, you can't really play a game with chain of command that's just tanks, because it's that core mechanic. With that said, if you want to play a game that's just tanks, go play World of Tanks. Okay? Where there's no infantry. Or War Thunder, which there's also no infantry. So, anyways, £6, get it. If you're interested in it, it's worth it. Okay? I'm not affiliated with any of the stuff that I'm going to show you. I'm just I'm running my mouth, and I enjoy learning stuff. I don't enjoy writing papers. So, anyhow, definitely worth getting that. All right, well, if that's how we're going to do it, which is how like I said, I'm not good at this. Hopefully, I'll do more of these, and it'll be interesting. Okay, on to Stalingrad book. Okay, this is the particular book that I have On Audible, it has this cover. It has this cover here. And it's really detailed. And I had never gotten a book on Audible and also bought it on Kindle. I got it on Kindle. I don't remember how much it was on Kindle, maybe $6. And the cool thing is you can actually look at the words as it's being read to you. And you don't need that all the time, but there's a lot of like details in there of this unit had this many tanks and this one had this one, and at this time, the Panzer Division had this many of this kind. And there's some vagueness, but there's some details too. So I recommend getting that if this is what you're interested in. And there's some maps that are pretty good. They never have the amount of detail that you want them to have, but they're pretty decent. Yeah, I don't know that I can get access to that off my computer. Like I said, I'm not super electronic savvy. You want to paint some faces on 20 millimeter figures, I'm your guy. Want to talk about things on the internet and how to get things to pop up and down, I'm not your guy. Okay? So, anyhow, I recommend there's a lot of detail on it. Unfortunately, it is mostly from the German side, but there is details. There are some reports from the Russian side as well. Okay, so it's not like it's 100% on the German side and nothing from the Russian. And it seems to be fairly objective because it's got different sources. It's got different source material. It's not just Scheibert stuff. There's some Rouse things in there, and then there's some Russian reports and stuff like that. So I think it was worth it. I don't know how much this is the actual hardcover book. Obviously, you could buy the hardcover as well. It's available. It's one of those things that's available on Kindle for really inexpensive. So, I recommend getting that. Okay, so this is the stuff I'm not really good at. One thing that I am really good at is Google Earth, because I use Google Earth I don't work for them or anything. I mean, I'm not that good, all right? But I am a fan of Google Earth. I am pretty familiar with how to get everything I can out of it, or a lot of it out of it. So let's go to Google Earth. All right? And let's go over to my part of the world. This is the part of the world I live in. Are we going to run slow today? It doesn't run like this. All right, so the part of the world the Wintergewitter takes place in. Wow, why are we running... why is it running this jagged? It's not so frustrating that it doesn't run great for me. I have hiccups. The frustrating thing is I see people that have internet content that is just sheer fucking garbage. Like, hey, let me watch me pull a telephone pole out of my ass. And their videos are like really clear. Why can't those guys make really crappy videos? All right. So I don't like to type things in. I just like to zoom in and zoom out. And I tell you what, it's not going to go really well if it's just jagged. It never runs this jagged, and it's not because this is on there. Maybe there's just too much shit going on right now. Maybe my computer's running at capacity. What we got here? Action required, fully charged. Okay. All right. So the easiest way for me to find it is just put it on satellite. And there's this little V here. And that is where Stalingrad is the base of the V, or Volgograd as it's called now. All right. So it was the drive to Volgograd. It pretty much started in this, and you've got names that are in Cyrillic and names that are translated into Cyrillic as well, which don't necessarily match what's in the books from World War II. Because you've got, in World War II, you have a mixture of different things on the Eastern Front. You have maps that are done in German with the German spelling of things, which none of us are used to seeing. I mean, unless, maybe if you speak German, you're used to seeing it that way. But it's not a format that I'm used to. So you have to kind of like discern a little bit, okay? So it pretty much started in this place called Kotelnikovo, and you can see that it is here, and then there's a Cyrillic spelling for it as well. The bank is you've got the river that's here on the one flank, but there are some things. It's been 80 something years ago, and a lot of things have changed in the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, and the current Russia. Rivers get diverted, they dry out. I mean, hell, Russia even has the freaking Aral Sea. Look at it over here. It's like a freaking sand trap, right? So things change. So with that in mind, I just kind of wanted to take a look at what some of the terrain looks like in this area so that you're making scenarios, you have an idea of maybe some of the things to consider. And I just thought it was really cool. I mean, obviously, I would like for there to be more detail than there is, okay? But what is there is pretty cool, and just some kind of things that you can kind of take off your list of like, all right, what would this look like, and what would that look like, and what would the other thing look like? So we got the drive to Stalingrad. Stalingrad's here at the V. This river, which has changed significantly. Let me find Kotelnikovo again. Okay, here. This river here, I believe it's the Don. Maybe it isn't. So this was the flank, but obviously they created a river. They'll like put a dam and it fills this thing up. So it's, but here's Kotelnikovo. This was obviously not this wide there. Let this catch up. This is basically the line where the Germans were set up at to start the drive that pushed to the northeast. Okay, and one of the main places where they fought, and you can recognize some of these places. This city is. This is another city where the Soviets were attacking in, and the Germans had to fight them out of them. I don't remember what it's called, but that's not spelled that way. So I'm talking about the spelling thing. Vernikumsky, which everybody is fairly familiar with, is spelled in a very odd way. Vernikumsky up here. And it is on the other side of the first river crossing. The first river crossing is this one here, which I believe, as soon as it catches up, I believe it's the Aske. The Aske River. Okay. Here's Selinsky. You'll see it on map spelled as Selinsky. Here is Zalimsky, right? So there are some differences in here. Now, one thing is to look at the coloration of this. This is obviously an autumn or something like this. This is not a winter map. But we'll get into something else that you can see what's going on. But basically, the Germans started here. They crossed over to the river. They fought over at Vernikumsky. They got pushed back out of it. They got pushed forward. They got pushed back. Then the other Panzer Division showed up, and they started pushing a little bit further to the right. And I believe this other river that's here is where they made a small bridgehead, and that's as far as they got. So they got maybe halfway to Stalingrad or so, not with any security. Like, I mean, even if they would have made it to Stalingrad, the corridor would not have been very strong. Okay, so one of the first things I wanted to look at is to see what this terrain looks like in this area. I mean, obviously, there's probably fields where there weren't fields before, but you can't change the hilliness of it that much, okay? So what I like to do, and I don't know how it's going to work here because it's running a little jagged, and it might be because I'm trying to run the camera off of it as well, right? I don't have a supercomputer. Is if you come down over here, this little guy is the Google Street guy. You could take him and you can put him anywhere there's like a line where the Google mobile's gone by, and you can see what things look like from the point of view of a camera mounted on top of a car. Okay, so you can kind of see a human-sized view of what the terrain is going to look like. Now, in places like in Western Europe and the United States, you can pretty much see almost everywhere you'd want to see with the Google camera. I mean, obviously, in the middle of the wilderness, you can't see that. Russia, not so much. North Korea, probably you can't see much either. Okay, but Russia, it's not everywhere. And just to give you an idea of what you can and can't see, just grab this little Google guy, and you see where there's those lines. That's where the Google Mobile traveled. Okay, now inside Kotelnikovo, probably not that useful because a lot of these cities were pretty much decimated to begin with. These are really like villages. I think one of the things that I read recently of Vernikumsky, which by the way cannot be seen. You can see there's nothing Vernikumsky on the map that's available there. Only had like 120 people that lived in it. So it rates the name of a town, but that town is a village. Okay, Zelensky can't see anything that, but you can see a couple of interesting things. You could zoom in on Vernikumsky. I think it's running a little bit smoother. Well, we're just going to have to be patient. This is the modern town of Vernikumsky. Now, bodies of water, you can't really trust them because they dry out, they move. A lot of the water in this area is affected by rainfall, and we're going to call them wadis. And we're not talking about a Ben Wadi. We're talking about just wadis in general. Here's one right here. You could tell as you zoom in on this, there's a little tree here, and then there's, here's like a creek where it runs through. When you get a lot of rain, it looks like it fills in from here to here, and you can see by the guide here, this is 50 feet. I wish it was in meters, to be honest with you. But maybe 75 feet across, 20 meters when it gets completely full. You got something over here. It looks like a chicken coop or something. Agricultural something or another. It's much smaller than, that's a tree. So, yeah, this is like a house. So it'd be nice to come in and see exactly what these houses look like, but you can't. All right. So Vernikumsky's up here. It's kind of in between. It's didn't have any rivers near it as far as I can tell. But see, you can see all these little tributaries of wadis when it rains. The whole thing is going to really fill in. Okay. So let's come back to the river, the first river crossing, because all these things that you see, these little ruts, these are what they would call balkas. And the Soviets really kind of, when they were defending this area, really liked to hide in these things. They'd hide tanks in them and shoot over them. Now, you can't really get an idea. You can get an idea of how wide it is, but you don't get a really idea how deep it is until you go in and actually get into the Google Street View. All right? But you can see they're all over the place, And you're like, oh, well, we got this field and everything. Well, what exactly are we dealing with? So let's go to the Google Man, all right? And here we have this river. This is the road up from Kotelnikovo, okay? So as you're leaving Kotelnikovo, we're going to drop the Google Man there. This is facing south. Obviously, this is a modern road. Any of the roads here are not going to have any pavement at all. And you can see it is pretty much calling it rolling hills is probably unfair. It's probably not even rolling hills. But what I really thought was interesting is you could come over here and go and look at. I wanted to get an idea of how much an impediment this river is going to be. So if we drop our Google Man, I've actually never done this with the little mini map on here. As much as I've used it, I've never used it. Here is a bridge over this said river. Okay, and this is the oxay at this point. So you can see that it is not super steep. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is that look at the timestamp for this Google map. This is October 2014. So in October, even though this might be lush fields, which it probably was at some point, is basically brown. So this is pretty much what the ground is going to look like, or even more dead in December. With a smattering of, well, it looks like a road apple right here on the ground. Welcome to Mother Russia! Yeah, you can see that this is pretty much flat. Yeah, you've got some places that infantry can hide, but you know, so you see a little dip here. And as you come across to the river, that's when the big dip happens. And I don't know what the drop is here. Probably 12 feet maybe. Not more than that. Looks like somebody's over here fishing. Okay. Now the other thing, where were we? We were here. God, it's running so slow. Where's the river crossing we were at? Okay, here at no near General Lovsky here. All right, I don't want to drop the Google guy there. Let's look at this here. What kind of width are we talking about? The river. It's about 100 feet across, 30 meters. You can throw a grenade across the river, okay, to put it into perspective. And this is in October, so it's going to be more restrained in the wintertime, with the potentially being frozen, I don't know. And you follow this river, has about the same width all the way across, Can't get a Google Street View or anything of this stuff, okay? Can't do any of that stuff. And you can't get into Vernikumski, okay? And then if you come over to this flank, you can see that we have a bridge crossing over this river too. So let's let go of that. Let's zoom in on the river crossing. And if you look at the German maps, the river, these river patterns, and this looks almost like freaking Louisiana. Like this river's all over the place. And you look at it on the German maps, it's pretty damn close. I mean, the river's all every which way like that. And you look at here, and let's take a look at this river, which looks like it's pretty overgrown there. And yeah, this one's dry. This river's dry. This is that overgrowth stuff that we talked about. So a lot of the rivers here might actually be, well, I mean, it could have changed, over time, But seasonal, a lot of seasonal water. Okay. And as you can see, now, obviously, these buildings are not, just let your sheep roam wherever the hell you want, comrade. This is, 80-something years ago. 83 years ago, something like that. So, things change, but you can take out of it whatever you want. As soon as you cross the river, you can see that, the Germans were talking about some of these things where the T-34s are shooting at 1,500 meters away. Well, yeah, there's nothing here. There's nothing here, other than the occasional building. Now, if we go over to some of these buildings, there's one of these third world cars, you can see some things that I think are pretty cool. You can see typical Russian building, whitewashed walls with some trim color here. Now, I don't know if I'd go with this. This is more like a Jimmy Buffett Bahamas looking colors, but definitely some blues are prominent. Now, you can tell that this is the kind of stuff that is just part of their culture. I don't know about a red building, but definitely whitewashed walls. I read in one of the accounts that a lot of these villages were like sometimes Cossack villages, and the Cossacks like to have whitewashed buildings. So, so there's that. But the river does not seem like it's much of an obstacle. Not all rivers are created equally. And obviously this also varies by time. Let me check the timestamp on here. I bet it's probably October 2014 as well. It is October 2014. So in October, not very green. So if you're going to make terrain for this, something like this, a little bit more dead, smattering of snow. But almost desert-like colors, right? This is like a desert-type palette of colors. Like if you squint a little bit so you don't see this the any grass or any tuft like that, you could look at it. It's kind of the same color that the desert is. As strange as that may sound, but in other words, it's not like deep brown earth, dark brown earth. Okay, and it'd be really nice to have go down this road and take a look at what's there, but you can't. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit more, see what else Google Maps can tell you. I guess it could be running a lot slower. Nobody there? Okay. Here's the town of Oksai on the Oksai. For some reason, there's some picture all the way out here. See how there's a little circle? Let's click on it and see what's there. It looks like some plane flew over. Well, this is kind of cool. Some guy decided to fly over and then link their plane picture here. That is what you call one big field. That is a big field. You can see this river's going all over the place. Now, this is February 2022. And in February, you can see that there is leftover parts of snow there. Oh, here we go. We got a logo here. Air who? Air 34 Regions. Okay, so somebody flying a drone. It's one of the drones that... it's a Soviet drone. Right? This isn't the Ukraine. I don't think this is the Ukraine. This is Russia. I could be wrong. It's close. But look at this windy ass river. Okay? So, all this stuff's available for free, folks. You just, I love looking at, I look at so much stuff on Google Earth. And I don't necessarily want more resolution. I wish there was more places I could see. I don't need to see who's there and invade people's privacy. I just love looking at the geography. I like geography more than history. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to take a look at, as soon as I remember what the hell that was, I told you I don't take notes, is we got the pictures here on the ground. We've got, we took a look at the buildings. Sometimes if you go somewhere, it's still kind of in the same area, just to see if this was taken in a different time and period. Now, it looks like the Google Mobile came here in 2014. So again, I wouldn't even call this rolling hills. There's probably places for infantry to hide, but it isn't much. It's not much at all. Let me zoom out. Yeah, it's not the Ukraine. Ukraine's over here. Okay, gosh, I want to say there was something else I wanted to take a look at. Yeah, just to kind of see if I can get a road that's going over by a balka. Let's see if we can identify a balka. Okay, here's a balka. Let's wait for the picture image to catch up. Here's something balka-like, and we got the Google Mobile went on this road. So let's see what that looks like. Doesn't seem to be much of one there. Now you can see the pattern here in the. Maybe that's just really typical. Let's follow this road up. What do we got here? That's just a crossroads. Yeah, so like, I don't know what color to paint the dirt road. There you go. That didn't change in 80-something years. Right? You can't just move all the dirt out. And you got some trees like, I'm sure this is the kind of trees you were talking about. Of course, these are all deciduous trees, which means they're basically not going to provide hardly any cover to you. You're not going to get hardly any cover from this. It's going to be just like sticks here. So all this kind of this is a great tool to kind of give you an idea of maybe what some of the terrain is looking like depending on where you're going to build it. And you could go and do it in North Africa too, although there's not many more or less pictures in North Africa than here. Now this was an overhead view. I wonder if this little circle was the same thing. Zutovo. No, here's actually a picture of a village. Come on, give me better. And here you go, and you're looking at whitewashed looking buildings with color trim. Usually the doors, the windows, and stuff like that were built. That's a relatively old building. If you're going to build a Russian village, and you get a building that looks like it's like this might be a good color to paint it. Like, it's not like you're just completely inventing it. I don't know about purple. That's the local rap artist lives there. April 2021. DJ Petrushkin. Yeah, there's Kotelnikovo, which I'm sure looks completely different. What is this? What's going over here at Gremskaya? Cement plant or something? Yeah, if we go into Kotelnikovo, here's what a Russian bar looks like. It does have air conditioning right here. Now there's the unit on the wall. A lot of these trees, all I see is deciduous trees, which means you're not going to get any protection from any kind of gunfire or anything like that from deciduous trees. Okay, here's what we're talking about. Right? You've got a white building with blue trim. That's really popular. Well, it's, Orthodox. That's Orthodox inspired colors. This is why you have a homeowners group. So some clown doesn't decide, I want to paint my house sea green. You're making our village go look terrible, comrade. Yeah, see, here's another one with the trim colors. You know, all this is inspiration of how to paint a village, how to paint a building. Now, this thing might not have been around in 1942, but it gives you kind of ideas of what could be. You know, these little damn Russian fences that are everywhere, right? These little sticks that like panzers can just drive through, and T-34s as well. You know. God, I want to say there was one more thing I wanted to take a look at. Oh, I know what it was. All right. So when I was searching up here, I really wanted to look at Vernikumsky, and I couldn't. I couldn't. But I know that they fought over this river to try to cross it. So I start zooming in on this river just to see what kind of stuff you can see, right? I don't have great resolution, but I have some. I mean, there's some stuff you can see from here. So let's look down the river, how it goes all over the place. Including some of these places that are on the German maps that almost like turn in on each other. I mean, what distance, what do we have here? 1,000 feet, maybe 1,500 feet here, and it travels 3,000 feet here for 1,500. So like almost like doubles back on itself. And this is like really common. And at one of these places, it might have been, I think it was on looking at Zelinsky. I saw something that looked like trenches on the ground. Now you got something here that looks like maybe an oxbow lake. Right? Like maybe the river came up this way or dried out or somehow it connected. I mean, look at this. You've got almost like it connects almost all the way through. It was on the south bank of this river. Almost kind of in an area like this. And I found some stuff that was on the ground. And I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was this river. No, that is farm. Yeah, look at this. Look at this almost like a clover leaf type thing here. Now, it's been a long time. I mean, it's, you know, things have changed. Things have changed a lot. But the reality is after this battle, nothing else. I mean, this area wasn't continually fought after that. Maybe it was the other river. Maybe it was the Mishkova. I forget exactly where it was. I'm gonna have to track down where it is, and I don't think it was this. It's something that definitely looked like a fortification. You know, hand dug. You know, it wasn't like it was a bunker or something like that. Not a concrete bunker, anyways. Yeah, there's Google Man anywhere near here? I mean, wide ass open. Wide ass open. I like the look of Cyrillic letters. I just don't know what the hell they're saying. Not my fault. They're using the wrong alphabet. It's all Greek to me. Literally. Yeah, this is, and is, let's see. And if you go up this way, You could even take something like, okay, well, what's it look like over here? This is still kind of the same area. Barren. Here's your forest. Great terrain if you don't want to build trees. Almost desert-like terrain. When was this? This is in October. I guess it got a little bit more rain over here. It's a little greener. A little greener. So yeah, I mean, you can do, a lot of searching around to find that kind of stuff. So the other thing I was finding out with going in the book, and I don't want to get involved in plagiarism, so I'm just going to kind of talk vaguely about what it was. Is there's a lot of information on the Sixth Panzer Division. The other two Panzer divisions that showed up after the fact are a little bit more vague, but they still have some numbers on the equipment that they had. The Sixth Panzer Division had like 21 Panzer IIs, at least when it started off the operation, 75 long-barreled Panzer IIIs, 25 short-barreled Panzer IIIs, which I narrowed it down, they're actually 75 millimeter armed. So all the short-barrel Panzer IIIs that they had, they weren't H's, they weren't J's, according to the references. They would have all been N's. So that's like 25 Panzer III N's in the unit. Now, the N came out after the M, and I would have assumed that almost all of the Panzer IIIs that were long that were there are going to be either late J's or L's. But if they have some N's, there's some M's that are probably available. Now, they didn't make very many M's. They made, I want to say 250 of them. It was a really low number for them. So I still think most of them, if there's any M's, it's probably going to be a lot less than the L's. So, and of course, like 20 or so Panzer IVs that are split in between the two companies, the 4th and the 8th Company. With that said, that means you only have about 10 Panzer IVs in the 8th Company. So I would think you'd be hard-pressed to have a 4th company in that. So a 4th platoon. So I would imagine that the Panzer IVs would be basically like 401, 402, and then 411, 412, 413, and then you skip to 421, 422, 423, and then you just have 3 companies worth. So you'd have the platoon that's led by 411, the one that's led by 421, and the one led by 431, and that's it. And go up to I guess the highest numbered Panzer IV in the 4th Company would be 433. I don't think there'd be a 434. They just didn't have enough Panzer IVs for that. So, and same thing for the 8th. So the 8th would be the same thing. Yeah, so I think I'm probably going to limit the last digit on any of the tanks to 3 as a general rule anyways, just to be safe. There probably were some platoons that had 4 tanks in them for the Panzer IIIs, but I just don't know. And I don't know how the short Panzer, the 75 millimeter armed Panzer IIIs, the 3 Ns, how they were distributed. Whether they had them alongside the other Panzer IIIs with the long barrel, or they were in their own company. I don't think they would be in their own company. I would think that they would be, considering there was, for every one of them, there was 3 other Panzer III longs. I would guess that there was probably 1 in every platoon. Now, whether that was the highest numbered one or not, I would think so. I mean, if I had to guess, I would probably I would probably put them in the highest numbered position. It's not going to be the commander's vehicle, I don't think. I don't think the platoon commander would have the short 75, although he could. But I just haven't seen any evidence of it. It's hard to find pictures of Panzer III Ns in gray, anyways, to begin with. So, but one thing we're talking about in one of the actions when they went in and took Verdnikumsky is they ran out of ammo. They basically ran out of ammo and would try to do a counterattack, and all they had was like HE left. Like they had to fight off tanks and they had just HE, so they just shot HE. And it's interesting. There's some pretty decent details to them. The 6th Panzer Division apparently also did have a battalion equipped with STKFZs for transport. 1 battalion out of the 4. As remember, you've got 2 regiments that each have 2 battalions in them. And so that's 4 of them, and only 1 of them was equipped with half-tracks. So most of the infantry is just, truck equipped. What else? The Panzerjägers that they had, they were self-propelled. It looks to be like they only had about 10. And I'm probably going to use Martyr 3s as them. I'm probably going to use Martyr 3s. I'm probably going to use the Martyr 3s from Gazala. I need to remember what the hell that thing's called. Do I have one of them finished up? I don't. I don't have it in here. Let me see if I can find it. It's the really tall one. That's probably the one I'm going to use for my units. I got one. She's just not finished. Not these. Let's see. I think that'll come up on the video. Not this kind. These, I don't think very many of them were in gray, if any at all. This is also a 3, but this is a 3H. It's the one that, and this actually has a Pack 40 in it. This has a true German gun that was created as a German gun, not the retrofitted Russian one. I got it here somewhere. Anywho, it'll turn up. It's the one you see like at Gazala. Yeah, I guess it's the Martyr 3. It's the only Martyr 3 that had the Russian gun in it. The retrofitted Russian gun cannon. Which is really, really long. It's like a 50-something caliber gun. It's really a long gun. Is my video like way behind? It may be. Anyhow, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. The information that I found that is, food for thought. I don't know if you guys found that interesting or not. But just kind of surfing around. And you can find a lot of cool stuff on there. Oh, well, why don't I just open up a tab and show you which martyr it is? Jeez. This one right here. It's even a book by Horst Scheibert. This right here. That's the Martyr 3 that I'm talking about. This has it's a Russian field gun they added a muzzle brake to it, and they modified the German 75mm ammunition to use it. So this is what would be in the unit. Yeah, Horst Scheibert, that is the guy, and he did a lot of books for. Yeah, here you go. Now these are like squadron signal books, but they're not as good. And I recognize his name because I actually had the Squadron Signal Panzergrenadier Grossdeutschland from many, many years ago when I was doing 135th scale modeling. That's one of the ones that was my go-to books because I was. But he's did a lot of books on a lot of different things, but they lack a lot of detail compared to, in my opinion, compared to. They're not the same equivalent of Squadron Signal, in my opinion. Although, look, he's got Panzer Kampfwagen 4 in combat. I don't know why I would ever have second company on it, but that's obviously later. It looks like it's on a base of yellow. But anyways, yeah, he put a lot of books together. But he was the Panzer commander of the Sixth Company during this time, and obviously he survived the war, or he wouldn't have written the book. But it's funny because his memoir doesn't have a lot of I went this and I did this and I asked for Klaus to bring me an extra ammo and and then I saw this one tank and it's more third person ish, which is you see see a bigger piece of the pie than that. Yeah, here's the Martyr 3 that we're talking about. Panzerjäger 38T for 7.62 centimeter Pack 36 Russian. STKFZ 139, which is really screwy because it sees action before the 138. The 138 is the Martyr H. This is actually, if you can find an article on what you're looking for, this online tank museum has some pretty good articles in it. I don't care about that. And I don't care to check out somebody's videos right now. And it doesn't talk about it being in the 6th Panzer Division. Well, see, besides these Panzer Divisions, many more units received Martyr 3 anti-tank vehicles. The 5th got 12, the 6th got 9. Yeah, so that's probably what I'm going to use. Now, what the hell are they named? I don't know. What are they numbered? There's only 9 of them. What are you going to name them? 2-digit codes? One of them for what platoon and one of them for each vehicle. So you got like maybe what? 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. There you go. You're done. You've named them all. You've numbered them all. It's like one platoon of them. So it's not. I don't find it that unattractive of a vehicle, but it is extremely top heavy. One thing is for sure, this running gear here, based on the Czech 38 tank, is one of the more reliable running gears the Germans had. I mean, sure, the German stuff is sometimes prone to breakdown, but one of the better ones is this running gear. They were used the Czech 38 until that 37 millimeter gun couldn't penetrate anything else. And then they started using this chassis for Martyrs, and then they eventually built the Hetzers on them. So it was a fairly useful running gear that seemed to do pretty well. And I think it's fairly attractive. Now, as complete as this may seem, for whatever reason, they don't have anything on. And the reason this particular site is good, it gives you a lot of information on how many of a certain thing were in a certain unit. That kind of stuff's kind of hard to find. You're not going to find that everywhere. So if you go over here to Germany, come on. I wanted to show that there was not. Oh, we got a crooked spider there. Well, let's not get into trouble with that. Anyways, they don't have any information on Panzer threes after like the G or something like that. So, yeah, this is what I'm gonna paint mine as. Yeah, this right here in the corner, some snow camo, and this is kind of what I'm going for on my snow paint. Like, okay, they had access to some whitewash paint, and then they did kind of like a quick spray paint. I don't want it to like be this sloppy looking, you know, like this looks pretty damn good. This starting to get in the sloppy zone. Okay, it's starting to look like a sloppy zone. Is actually a bolt action one. I mean, realistic. Don't get me wrong. There's vehicles that look like this, but just starting to look a little sloppy. You know, is this a winterized one? Yep. Yeah, you see, this is, and there's lots of pictures you'll see of winterized vehicles that look like this. They've got, they just slopped the paint on and some of the paint came off of it, and it just looks like, to an untrained eye, it looks like that guy just doesn't know how to paint very well. And that's not the case. I'm looking at it and going, yeah, that looks pretty good. I just don't like that that's what the initial reaction is. You got crews with the snow smocks and stuff like that. Germans had snow gear for this winter. Or some Germans had snow gear for this winter. The previous winter, they did not have snow gear. They did not have snow gear. They were not prepared for that. Anyhow, yeah. So that's what I found out. So hopefully you guys found this useful. What I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to what do I got on my table?